Welcome back to the Real Estate Agent School. My name is Cameron Ure. I am a real estate agent and a real estate coach and the owner of the Real Estate Agent School. And in this video, I am going to go over how to prospect in neighborhoods that are either gated, have a ton of no soliciting signs, or just a neighborhood that you do not have access to, but could be really profitable. Obviously, this comes down to flyering, mailing, knocking doors, or some form of in-person circle prospecting, and I'm going to cover all of that in this video today. In this video, I'm going to be going over how a ton of agents have been reaching out to me, asking me how to handle neighborhoods where it's locked up. There's just no way to get into it, or they just are worried about knocking on doors because they don't want to get yelled at for soliciting. And they're totally valid in their worries here. You have to do it right, especially when you're knocking doors, because there are legal rules around this, and we want to be 100% respectful when prospecting, because obviously if you're not being respectful, how are you going to get any business? So the whole point of this video is to walk you through how to potentially capitalize on these neighborhoods, and if you're not able to, alternatives to put into practice so you can still market to these profitable neighborhoods and be successful while growing your real estate business. At the end of this video, I'm going to make sure your pitch is not too salesy. It is very important when you are knocking doors or prospecting in person that you are not a salesperson. I promise you, you will be so much more successful if you just be a real human being, have meaningful conversations with people, and using your training, your knowledge, and your expertise, be able to help them make an educated decision when the time is right for them. So stick around to the end of this video so you can learn how to prospect in hard neighborhoods while still becoming extremely successful. So the first thing I want to talk about is playing the long game of circle prospecting or door knocking. Door knocking or trying to get into neighborhoods that may be gated or have no soliciting signs can be super challenging, but there are ways to eventually break in and take over the entire neighborhood. The first thing I'm going to talk about is by actually circle prospecting from a phone call standpoint. Instead of going in person and knocking on those doors, actually get on the phones, and there's tons and tons of ways to get the numbers of these homeowners. There's RedX, there's title companies, there's data scraping services. Look into all of these, but pull up the phone numbers of these homeowners and start to call them. It's super simple. Just get on the phone, give the prospect a call, and if you need references for how to actually call these homeowners, there is no one else that I can recommend more than Ricky Carruth. His methods are the gold standard for circle prospecting by just calling, building a relationship, and playing the long game for when that person is ready, and just seeing if there's anything you can do for them in the time being. So if you can't get in the neighborhood to door knock, call them, build a relationship, and once you have, that is what will be your in. You will know somebody, you'll have a listing appointment, you'll have a listing, and from there, you can knock the neighborhood and reference your business, your friend, your relationship, and you will be good to go. The next thing I want to touch on is probably not something you want to hear, but honestly, just avoid some of these neighborhoods. If there's a neighborhood where it is locked down, gated, no soliciting, and it's just too hard to get into and may not be worth it, there are so many homes on this planet, and if you have to drive a little bit further, it's a bummer, but just find a different neighborhood. I know you want to knock in certain specific places, but it doesn't really matter. Knocking and prospecting is 100% a numbers game, and so if you can just find a neighborhood that you can set up shop in, knock a bunch of doors, talk to as many people as you can, your business will grow. So don't focus a crazy amount on, okay, I have to knock this type of property, this type of neighborhood, this type of turnover ratio. It's important. All of those things play a factor. But what is more important is just getting out and doing it. Just go knock on doors, talk to people, and you're going to be totally fine. So if a neighborhood doesn't work, just go find another one. Not the best advice, obviously. I wish I had a silver bullet solution for these type of neighborhoods that have these type of problems, but I don't. And so just finding a new one is probably going to be your best bet. Next thing I'm going to recommend for you is actually sending mailers or market updates to these neighborhoods until, like I said earlier, you have an in, like a listing appointment, a relationship, a listing, whatever it may be. The easiest way to do this is by getting the data or addresses to the homeowners from a title company. Title companies can actually pull neighborhood addresses, provide you with the address list. You can very easily make a printout of a market analysis or even just a marketing letter offering your service to an in-home analysis on their property value. This is an incredible way to get in the door because you can pretty much just say, hey, I'll come over for free. I'm going to look at your home. I'm going to tell you what I think it's worth and what you could potentially do with that equity, or not even offer that. Just say, hey, I'll tell you what your home's worth. Totally free. I would love to swing by. Then print these out, make them in a nice little envelope. Don't even have to mail them because if you want to save on costs, you can totally just hand take them to the mailbox, drop them in there, and poof, you just mailed that entire neighborhood and are starting to build relationships, which you can potentially then build a relationship to get into the property and start succeeding with one-on-one face-to-face communication. One little disclaimer that I want to throw in there is if you do not know your city laws or ordinances around talking to people face-to-face at their doorstep, make sure you look into those and understand fully how they work. You don't want to be doing anything illegal. We obviously are wanting to just help people, educate people, and knowing your stuff on this is going to be really important. That way you're not just naively jumping into something that is going to get you in trouble. So look into that, make sure you're not doing anything wrong, but majority of the time you're going to be totally fine. The last thing that I want to touch on is your pitch. If your pitch is salesy, your success is going to go down. A lot of the time people are knocking on doors and they think they're not being salesy at all. But in reality, if you listen to yourself, it would be a brutal conversation because the questions you're asking or the comments you're making are just trying to shove information down the prospect's throat, or you're not even giving the prospect the opportunity to talk, which is the most important aspect of any type of sales conversation. And so the one thing I want to hit on very, very intensely is how your conversations are going. If you're not recording your conversations when calling people, knocking on doors, whatever it may be, and reviewing those to hear where you may have messed up, how your tone of voice sounds, what questions you're asking, that's really going to be the key to becoming a really, really successful salesperson while just being genuine and wanting to help people. And so the reason I bring this up is if you are trying to knock doors in a no soliciting community or a gated community and your pitch is extremely salesy, you are going to get destroyed by the homeowners. The HOA president is going to come down on you. The Karens of the neighborhood are going to come out and try to choke you out. It is not going to be it is not going to be a good situation. So when you are pitching or talking to somebody, I want you to focus on these three things. The first thing is go into these conversations with the mindset of education. When you have the door opened or are talking to somebody, do not try to have the mindset or persona or honestly end goal of I'm setting a listing appointment. I am 100% going to sell this person. That will be portrayed through your body language, your tone, your facial expressions. Instead, if you come into the conversation with a standpoint of education, you are there to help that person. And in my opinion, that is not soliciting. If you can genuinely go into a conversation, knocking on somebody's door and just asking if you can help them, that doesn't really seem like you're trying to do anything salesy or sketchy, in my opinion. For example, if someone were to knock on my door and just be like, hey, I am 100% for free going to mow your lawn, no obligation. I'd be like, really? Cool. Yeah, go for it. And they would mow my lawn. And then if they left, didn't leave me a business card, didn't like nothing like that, and just truly helped me, I would never turn that person in for soliciting. And so obviously that is a different scenario but the lesson still applies. If you can have that conversation with the homeowner of just pure help and appreciation for them being willing to talk to you, they're going to leave that conversation very happy and more educated and honestly ready to reach out to you when the time is right. And so that's number one, focus on education when you're at the door so you don't come across as a salesperson. Number two is when you're at the door, focus on door knocking being a long-term play. Even though door knocking can become a short-term play, thinking it will be a long-term play is what's most important. If you in your mind know that, okay, this person is going to be moving in the next couple of years. If I build a relationship with them, I 100% know that I'm going to become their realtor because of the questions I'm asking, my education that I just talked about, and my follow-up system. And so if you are not there with the mindset of I'm going to get a deal right now today, you will 100% not be looked at as a solicitor and your business will grow. Inadvertently, it's kind of funny. If you're focused on I need a deal right now, that deal won't come. But when you just relax and just care for people, you will get more busy than you've ever been in your entire career. Number three, the last thing I want you to focus on is how you treat the prospect when you're leaving. If you're walking away from the door and like they're trying to shut the door on you and you're being like, okay, great, thanks, have a good day, and like in like that snarky, rude tone, or you're just not treating the person right, then yeah, you're going to be looked at as a solicitor and get yourself in trouble. You want to be respectful and truly just benefit the person regardless of how they treat you. One thing that I've realized over the years of knocking and working with people is you never know what is going on in their life the 10 seconds before you knock on their door. I've had times where I've knocked on a door and a single mom has opened with 3 kids climbing all over her, and I almost want to just be like, hey, can I help? But obviously that time is just not right. You're not going to be successful trying to push real estate information down that person's doorway, and you just have to be respectful. A lot of the times people don't mean to be rude. It's just you caught them at a bad time. And so have the mindset and give people the benefit of the doubt and just care. I know I've said that probably 6 times in this video, but I just want to drive that home. Sales, and especially door knocking, is really about just being a nice person and building relationships and being educated enough to ask the right questions to help that prospect speed up the gap of what they think is possible and what you know is possible. I'm not the type of person where I'm just going to try to sell every single person I talk to. That's 1, unethical in my opinion, and 2, just not who I am. And so take this lesson, apply it to those neighborhoods that you may want to be knocking in but are hard to because they're gated or solicited. And 2, just go out there and have a good time doing it. Don't put yourself in a ton of pressure by making calls or knocking doors. Instead, just truly try to help people, play the long-term game, and you will be surprised at how quickly you can actually stop knocking or making calls if you wanted to from the business you acquire. Like always, if you need anything, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for joining me on this video. Stay tuned for the upcoming announcements and new videos every single week. Hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next video.